Production flow chart of AAC blocks and panels. The fly ash or sand loaded into the hopper with weighing scale is conveyed through belt conveyor to be grinded in ball mill, then to make the mixture into a form of slurry to store in tanks. Cement and processed lime are conveyed to silos for storage respectively. The steel wire rods are welded as steel mesh by the full automatic welding machine. After being dipped in the anti-corrosion liquid and dried in the drying oven, the coated reinforcement meshes, or cages, are assembled with frames and positioned by holding pins. Then they will be lifted to the appointed position by the crane, preparing to be fixed into mold. The prepared raw materials shall be weighted by electronic scales and then conveyed into the pouring mixer in sequence for high-speed mixing. All of the weighing processes are controlled by the PLC system automatically. During scaling and mixing, the pouring ferry cart will transport the empty mold to the pouring location, waiting for pouring. The mixed slurry of raw materials is poured into the empty mold through the up and down pouring device. The filled mold is transported from the pouring ferry cart to the location of air bubble removal to remove big bubbles caused by pouring. During block production, the mold is directly conveyed to the pre-curing room by ferry cart for curing under constant temperature. For panel production, meshes or cages are plugged into the located mold by the crane. And then the mold shall be transported to the pre-curing room by ferry cart. When the cake reaches the cutting required hardness after pre-curing, the mold will be drawn out by friction wheels on pre-curing ferry cart, directly sent to the mold conveying line, if only producing blocks. For panel production, the assembled frame and holding pins shall be pulled out of the mold. Then the mold can be transported by friction wheels. To the locating position under tilting hoister, which takes the mold to cutting line. The tilting hoister turns the mold over by 90 degrees and puts it onto the first cutting cart for demolding. Then, the empty mold will be assembled with a clean side plate and taken to returning line for oiling, waiting for the next pouring. The first cutting cart carries the green cake passing through the horizontal cutting machine. The head of cake is cut by 7 procedures. The sides of cake are grooved and cut on 4 directions by the milling slot device and horizontal cutting device. Then the green cake continuously moves to the vertical cutting machine. The exchange device lifts the cake and side plate, then put on the second cutting cart for vertical cutting. During vertical cutting process, cutting machine frame swings back and forth as a saw. and cutting wires are tensioned by pneumatic cylinders. After the vertical cutting, the second cutting cart conveys this cake together with the side plate through air blowing device to remove the two sides waste. Then the loading hoister takes the green cake onto tilting table. And bottom removing machine removes the waste at the top and bottom of the cake and on the side plate. After waste removed, the cake will be lifted by the grouping hoister to autoclave trolley for grouping. The group trolley will be conveyed by friction wheels to the grouping ferry cart, which carries the trolley to certain rail for grouping. After the completion of the whole grouping process, the whole line of trolleys will be pushed into the autoclave together by the drawing mechanism. The autoclaved cakes will be pulled out of the autoclave by after autoclave ferry cart automatically. Trolleys are then separated by hook releasing device automatically and conveyed to the ferry cart after autoclave. Then the ferry cart carries the trolleys to the trolley returning line. The unloading crane will take the mature cake onto the side plate roller. Which conveys it to the lifting platform under the separator. The mature cake is then separated layer by layer, while the lifting platform elevates. After being separated, the finished product will be conveyed to the single cake clamping hoister by side plate rollers. The blocks are lifted to the combining machine by the single cake clamping hoister for combining, and then taken to the pallet conveying line by the dual cake clamping hoister for stacking and strapping. The panels will be lifted to the panel packaging line by single cake clamping crane separately. After packaging, the finished products will be taken to the storage yard by forklifts. Tier AAC production line is the optimum selection of you to strive for excellent quality with sophisticated equipment, prominent performance, and matured automation system.